"You still love me?" she said, blinking twice, and then she laughed. Right there in front of her best friend. A laugh that started small, like a cough, then spilled out of her mouth like a wave crashing against stone. It wasn't playful. It wasn't surprised. It was cruel. Mean even. Like I just told her I believed in Santa Claus. I stood there, the words still hanging in the air between us like damp laundry. "I still love you." That's what I'd said. Honest. Vulnerable. And she laughed. Her name's Isabel. We were married for 6 years. 6 years of Sunday pancakes and shared Spotify playlists and leaving notes in each other's shoes. And that laugh, sounded like it had never belonged to the woman I used to know. I guess it started long before that day. The slow unraveling of something I thought was stitched tight. We were at Clara's apartment, her best friend since college, helping her pack for some sabbatical in Bali. Clara was one of those breezy, sun-drenched types who made other people's marriages feel like sad leftovers. But I never blamed her for that. She just had that kind of presence. Anyway, we were all sipping wine, reminiscing about old times. Clara had just found a box of old Polaroids, and Isabel got giddy, leaning into me like she used to, her hair brushing my shoulder. For a moment, I felt a spark, a phantom of the woman I married. So I whispered it, not to make a scene, not to win her back, just to say it. "I still love you." And she laughed. Clara watched her laugh, but didn't say a word. Just kept folding sundresses into her suitcase, lips tight. My ears buzzed with the silence that followed. I wanted to disappear, but I didn't. I just nodded. Clara stood up, said she needed a smoke. But she didn't go outside. She went to her bedroom, shut the door. Isabel poured herself more wine. "God," she said, shaking her head, still smiling. "You always were the sentimental one." That sentence did something to me. It hardened something soft. So I did what no man should ever do unless he's absolutely sure. I picked up her phone. Not secretly, not sneakily, just bold, like pulling the fire alarm in a burning building. She didn't stop me. I opened her messages. There, at the top, was a name I didn't recognize. Nick. My heart skipped. Not in the romantic way. In the trains coming and you're tied to the tracks kind of way. I tapped it. She didn't stop me. Didn't flinch. She sipped her wine and looked away. It wasn't just flirting. It was familiar. Like a secret language. Pictures. Jokes. References to nights that clearly didn't involve me. There was one from just 2 nights ago. "You taste like cinnamon and danger." I read it again. Out loud. Isabel's face stayed still. Unbothered. Like a woman watching a scene from a movie she's already seen too many times. But from behind the door, I heard movement. "Clara." So I read another one. This time louder. "You ever think about just running away? Just you and me. Forget the guilt." And then another. "He said he still loved me tonight." I almost died laughing. You were right. He never really saw me. That one hit harder. My hands shook. The door opened. Clara stood there, barefoot, face pale. Her voice low. "Nick?" I turned to her. "Yeah," I said. "Nick." Clara didn't speak right away. She just sat down slowly on the edge of the couch. Her face crumpled like she'd been holding back a truth too heavy to carry. I looked at Isabel. She was frozen now, lips parted like she wanted to speak, but forgot how. "Nick's my fiancé," Clara said finally. The room went so quiet I swear I could hear Isabel's heartbeat. Or maybe it was mine. I stared at my wife. My wife, who once told me I was her safest place in the world. My wife, who cried on our anniversary when I surprised her with tickets to Paris. My wife, who once said cheating was the ugliest thing a person could do. And here she was, face flushed, wine in hand, silent. I held up the phone. "Want me to keep going?" I asked. Isabel whispered, "Please don't." But it was Clara who stood first. She walked to the kitchen, grabbed her pack of cigarettes, and left without a word. I sat down. Everything hurt. My knees. My chest. My memory. Isabel tried to speak. But I wasn't ready to listen. Not yet. That was the moment I realized. Betrayal doesn't always come like a storm. Sometimes, it walks in wearing perfume and smiles, sits beside you on a couch, and laughs when you tell it you still care. Clara didn't come back that night. The front door slammed softly behind her, like even the house knew something irreversible had happened. Isabel sat across from me, staring at the floor like she expected it to open up and swallow her whole. I didn't speak, not because I had nothing to say, but because I was afraid of what might come out if I opened my mouth. Rage? Sorrow? Begging? Instead, I stood up, handed her back the phone, and walked into the hallway like I was looking for something. Maybe silence. Maybe a version of myself that didn't ache all over. She followed me. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Her voice, soft, controlled, like a child explaining why she broke something valuable. I turned around. What does that even mean? Isabel crossed her arms, a reflex she had when she felt cornered. It started as texting, just harmless. You and I weren't talking. Not really. We weren't talking because you stopped trying, I said. Because you were gone, Ben. Her voice cracked on my name. Always working late. Always tired. You came home like a ghost. I felt like I was sleeping next to a stranger. I was building something for us, I said. All those late nights. The hours I spent picking up extra shifts. That wasn't for me. That was for you. For us to have a future. And I just wanted you, she whispered. I didn't answer. Because maybe, somewhere deep down, she was right. Maybe I did pull away. Maybe I stopped looking at her the way I used to, stopped asking about her day, stopped holding her hand during movies. But the difference is, I never stopped loving her. I just got tired. And I thought love was supposed to hold us steady during that. We ended up in the kitchen somehow. The wine bottle still sweating on the counter. The room smelled like citrus and regret. You and Clara, I said. How long? Her head jerked. No. God, no. Clara doesn't know. She had no idea. I swear to you, Ben. I believed her. Not because she deserved it, but because the look on her face was real. Panic. Shame. Not the kind you fake. And Nick? I asked. She hesitated. A few months. That sentence felt like a shard of glass sliding under my ribs. I leaned against the fridge. Why him? I don't know. She looked like she hated herself for not having a better answer. He made me feel wanted. Seen. He didn't talk about bills or projects or real estate trends. He just looked at me like I still mattered. My laugh was dry. He also looked at Clara like she mattered. While proposing to her. Must be a real multitasker. Isabel didn't laugh. I wanted to yell, to break something, to demand an apology that would somehow glue the pieces of me back together. But nothing came. Just a wave of exhaustion that wrapped around me like a wet blanket. You know what the worst part is? I said, my voice low. It's not even the cheating. It's that when I told you I still loved you, you laughed. She winced like I'd struck her. I didn't mean to. You did. And that's the part one can't unhear. The clock on the wall ticked loud in the quiet. It used to hang in our first apartment. We'd bought it at a flea market, laughing at its ugly copper frame. She said it looked like something from her grandmother's kitchen. I said it looked like it would never stop ticking. I was right about that, at least. I finally sat down at the kitchen table, rubbing my hands over my face. Isabel hovered by the counter, small and broken in a way I hadn't seen since her dad's funeral. I hated how my heart still softened seeing her like that. Betrayal doesn't erase love immediately. It just bruises it in places you can't reach. Do you still love him? I asked. She looked up, startled. What? Nick? Do you love him? Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Then, finally, a whisper. No, I don't think I ever did. I nodded slowly. But you love the attention. She didn't deny it. There's something humiliating about realizing your marriage ended in the space between texts. That you lost to someone who sent emojis and hotel addresses. Not because he was better, but because he was available. I stood. I'm going home. Ben. No. Don't. Please. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe I didn't either. I turned toward the door, already hearing the way tomorrow's headlines would play in my head. Man walks away from a woman who didn't fight for him. But as I grabbed my keys, I stopped. Because I wasn't done yet. Not entirely. Tomorrow, I was going to meet Clara. Because someone else deserved the truth. Clara met me at a coffee shop just off 4th and Alder. One of those quiet, wood-paneled places with scones that look like art and baristas who write your name in cursive. She was already sitting when I walked in. Same loose denim jacket, sunglasses on the table, hands wrapped around a latte like it was holding her together. She looked up when I slid into the seat across from her. No hug. No fake smile. Just a nod. You have it? She asked. I did. The printouts. The screenshots. The proof. I pulled the envelope from my bag, slid it across the table. Her fingers hovered over it, then pulled back. I don't need to read it, she said quietly. You sure? I asked. She looked me in the eye. When someone lies to you, there's always this tiny part of you that hopes you're wrong. But last night, I saw it in her face. I knew. She pushed the envelope back toward me. Keep it. I already believe you. Something tightened in my chest. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to say that. I believe you. I'd spent so many months feeling like I was imagining the distance between me and Isabel, that I was the one who had failed, that I hadn't loved her right. Clara leaned back in her chair, staring out the window. He proposed to me at Cannon Beach, right on the rocks, just before sunset. I thought it was perfect. She gave a hollow laugh. He texted Isabel the same night. Called me a sentimental puppet in one of the messages. I flinched. Jesus. Yeah. She looked down. I wonder how many people are walking around thinking they're special, holding someone's hand, not realizing that same hand is wrapped around someone else's throat. We sat in silence for a long time, just two people licking wounds we didn't ask for. Then Clara reached into her purse, pulled out a key. My apartment, she said. I won't be there. I'm staying with my sister for a while. But I figured you might want to go back. Talk to her. I shook my head. There's nothing left to say. Maybe not. But if you don't say it, you'll carry it. She stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Ben, you didn't deserve any of this. I swallowed the lump in my throat and nodded. Neither did you. She left. I didn't go to her apartment right away. I drove instead, through the old neighborhood, past the bookstore where I proposed, past the Italian place we used to order from on Friday nights, past all the ghosts wearing our memories like old coats. When I finally pulled up to Clara's place, the sky was dark. Isabel's car was still there. I walked in without knocking. She was on the couch, knees tucked under her, phone in hand. She looked up. Her eyes were swollen, face bare of makeup. She looked young, like the girl I met 10 years ago at that street fair in Portland, where she beat me at ring toss and stole the last funnel cake. You came back, she said. For a minute, I replied. She nodded like she'd been expecting that answer. I saw Clara, I said. She knows everything. Isabel closed her eyes. I figured. She's gone. Says you can stay here as long as you need. But I won't be here. She looked like she wanted to protest, but didn't. I never meant to hurt you. I smiled just barely. You did, though. She wiped her face with her sleeve. I kept waiting for you to fight, to scream, to ask me why, but you just left. I left because if I stayed, I'd hate you. And I didn't want to hate you. She stared at the floor. I hated myself. You should have come to me, Isabel. If you felt alone, if you felt neglected, we could have figured it out. I know. I would have done anything to fix it. I know. I stepped toward the door. But I won't fight for someone who laughs in my face when I tell her I still love her. That landed. She flinched, just slightly. But enough. I turned to go, hand on the knob. Ben, she called. I stopped. If I said I still loved you, I didn't turn around. Would you stay? I took a breath, deep enough to bury the part of me that still wanted to say yes. The part that remembered dancing in the kitchen and falling asleep with her hand on my chest. The part that hadn't quite stopped loving her, even now. But I knew what I needed. And it wasn't this. No, I said gently. Because if you did love me, you wouldn't have laughed. The door clicked softly behind me. And that was it. No grand finale. No begging. No storm. Just the sound of shoes on pavement and the long silence that follows when the truth has finally been spoken. People think betrayal comes with screaming matches and thrown plates. But sometimes it comes with a whisper. A glance. A laugh. I loved a woman who forgot how to love me back. She thought she broke me. But all she really did was set me free.